And the hardest part is you probably didn't realize you were doing it, because when you're someone who values being understanding, giving people grace, and seeing the best in others, ignoring red flags doesn't always look like that's what you're doing. Sometimes it looks like you're being the mature one, you're being compassionate, and other times it looks like just telling yourself, I need to just give them more time. But there's a difference between patience and ignoring what you need. And in this video, I'm going to show you 5 mistakes that I used to make for patience that were actually me just overlooking the things that mattered. But first, I want you to understand something important. The biggest reason we ignore the red flags usually isn't because we don't see them. It's because we've convinced ourselves that acknowledging them means we have to make a difficult decision. And that's where a lot of women get stuck, because they notice the pattern, they feel uncomfortable, they know something doesn't feel right, but they think, maybe I'm being too harsh, maybe I need to be more understanding. The problem is, if you constantly override your own discomfort, if you constantly keep pushing it down, you slowly stop trusting yourself. And that's the part we need to talk about. Because this really isn't about becoming someone who looks for flaws in everyone. It's about becoming someone who can recognize when compassion is becoming self-neglect. Here are 5 things that can feel like patience but might be just you ignoring red flags. Number 1, giving someone endless chances without looking at the pattern. Being patient means allowing someone room to grow. But ignoring red flags looks like focusing only on their potential while you ignore their repeated behavior. You keep saying they're going through a lot, they didn't mean it, they'll change. But the question you need to ask yourself is, am I giving someone grace, or am I repeatedly accepting the same behavior? Because a mistake and a pattern are not the same thing. And this next one is something a lot of women confuse with being loving. Number 2, explaining your feelings over and over, hoping that they'll finally understand. Sometimes we think, if I just explain better, they'll get it. So we find different ways to say the same thing. We sugarcoat it, we give more examples, we try to make it impossible for them to misunderstand us. But sometimes the issue isn't that someone doesn't understand. Sometimes they understand quite clearly, quite well, but they just don't want to take responsibility. And learning the difference can save you years of frustration. Number 3, accepting discomfort because you're afraid of being unfair. Maybe you notice something that bothers you, but then you immediately talk yourself out of it. You think, maybe I'm too sensitive, maybe I'm expecting too much, maybe I should just let it go. But your feelings are information, and they're not always telling you that someone is a bad person, they're telling you that something needs your attention. Number 4, being loyal to who someone could become instead of who they're showing you right now that they are. This one is difficult because caring about someone's potential feels loving, but this one is difficult because caring about someone's potential feels loving to us. But your relationship is happening with the person in front of you right here, right now, not the person you hope they'll become someday. You can believe someone has the ability to grow while still acknowledging that their current behavior is affecting you. Number 5, thinking it's patience when you're actually afraid of what will happen if you stop being patient. Sometimes we hold on because we're afraid. We're afraid of the conflict. We're afraid of feeling disappointing them, and being seen as selfish. So we rename fear as patience. But real patience doesn't require you to shrink yourself. But real patience doesn't require you to shrink yourself. You can be compassionate and still have standards. You can understand someone's struggles and still decide what you will and won't accept. The goal here isn't to become someone who immediately cuts everyone off the moment they make a mistake. The goal is to become someone who trusts themselves enough to notice when something doesn't feel right. Because the more you trust yourself, the easier it becomes to make decisions from self-respect instead of fear. If it's your first time here, I'm Chloe and I'm a coach, and I help women I'm Chloe, and I'm a coach who helps women to heal from subtle emotional manipulation, rebuild their self trust, and learn how to set boundaries without guilt or fear. If this video resonated with you, I would love to know which of these felt the most familiar to you. Is it giving too many chances, over explaining, doubting your feelings, focusing on potential, or being afraid to let go? Comment below and let me know. Tell me in the comments. And if you want more conversations like this about boundaries, self trust, and becoming the version of yourself who no longer ignores your own feelings and needs, you can find me on Instagram at In the Garden of Her. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.